see if they can break the field apart.
It's an interesting strategy, but yes, to leave yesterday's winner off the freestyle for the anchor leg, it's a brave move. Here's Kazakhstan, Shogina leading out for the Kazakh team, and for Germany, Laura Gimler, I suppose with the advantage of not having started yesterday, so fresh legs there. Hennig takes second, she's a classic specialist. Pia Fink, of course, third, and Victoria Karl on fabulous form. Finland is a weakened team. Joensuu, we've got now Imanen for Palmakoski, she's unwell this morning. Rupanen and Ritti. Heidi Weng is the most experienced in the team to hand over to Bergan, and that's going to be interesting. Carver next, and Weng, and there's Moa Lundgren. Little chat with her earlier. She's all about positivity. She needs to get focused now to try and lead Sweden out. The ever smiley, happy, positive Jessie Diggins. Brennan goes next. What a team that is. Sophie Lautley, she won't let them down, and Julia Kern will anchor the American team. The nervous yawn. Many say that's getting the oxygen in that you so badly need in a few seconds' time. So the athletes about to get underway. 9 teams lined up for the first of the relays this season. Under starters' orders here, Heidi Weng looking anxious, as you'd expect, about to unleash from the line. So they're underway. It'll be a mad dash out of the stadium. It's one of the few flat areas on this track. Well, Moa Lundgren has been briefed potentially to try and command the race from the gun, double pulling up over this first rise. Jessie Diggins looked dynamic, and Posey, Jessie Diggins last weekend, I thought on the Saturday in Ruka Classics, never been her forte, never been a strong point really, but I thought she looked much improved, technically better, and clearly a very good result in 7th place.
Yeah, I know she's been working hard on her classic over the last couple of years. Her skate is still, without a doubt, stronger. I think you can count on her to be in the running for the podium in a skate race, and maybe not quite so much in classic, but it's definitely improved, and so much of that is about confidence as well. I think when you start to believe in yourself in a technique, then I think that that really helps. And she, I think, as we said about this course, it's a lot of up and down. It's straight up, then you've got a really fast downhill. That's what she did so well yesterday, was working those downhills in the corners and taking the speed into the next uphill. But for classic, that means that you have to have the kick right so that you can work, so that you can get over the uphills without wasting too much effort.
Well, saying that, the kick, that's when you compress down on the waxing pocket. There's a curved ski to get grip. The wax will grab the snow crystals to help you push yourself up the hill. I did see Jessie Diggins slipping there, so that's one little negative, hopefully, which won't come back to haunt her over this journey of 7.5. And great to see, this is where Jessie Diggins is the best for me in the women's field, tucking low. It's not quite the same when you've got the wax under your ski, it grips at times, but you can just see the curves here where you have to try and get the energy in and out of the corners.
Yeah, it's certainly a little bit trickier in classic. The skis are slightly longer for classic as well, so that does make it a little bit more challenging to corner there. But Diggins and the rest of the field looking comfortable. So we're 2 minutes in, Mike, but you can already see these first 6 are pulling away. So as expected, I think we're seeing Diggins particularly pushing the pace up front, trying to just break the pack apart. I think they think that's their best chance for victory, is to sort of get a bit of a lead early on before they hand over to their 3rd and 4th leg ski.
I totally agree. It appears that way, and that would make sense, isn't it, to play your strongest athlete in freestyle, but good in classic, putting Jessie Diggins first, and purely, entirely to create some damage on this first leg, to create a separation.
Yeah, it's not a subtle tactic, I wouldn't say, Mike. It's just go hard from the gun and see who's left at the end of it. But that's what Diggins does best, so it suits her. I think Lundgren just needs to hang on, and Heidi Weng as well. She's an experienced athlete, obviously. She just has to, stick with it and keep up with that pace that Diggins is looking to set here.
And I think Heidi Veng with the right suit, the red suit on the right-hand side, the Norwegian suit as always. It stands out loud, but I think she, from what I watched last weekend, Heidi Veng now moving up into second place. She certainly looks sharp and the desire's there again. I thought she may have performed better last weekend, but I do think we'll see some podium positions, maybe a victory from her as the season progresses.
It'd be great to see. She said after I saw an interview with her, actually after her race yesterday, she said she didn't feel great, so she was actually pleased that the result was as good as it was. I think she was 9th on the day yesterday, I want to say. So, you know, top 10's pretty respectable, and as you say, I think there's more to come from her through the season.
I think so. Well, this is, they've just got up, I don't know if you've seen the names of the hills. This is Dynamite or Dynamite Bakken, so Dynamite Hill. I suppose it's short, sharp and explosive, and that's the way that Jessie Diggins approached it and attacked it. So every big climb, and that is the other aspect of this course. I can't think, Posey, of another World Cup track profile where it's so continually up, down with the fast curves. Quite an unusual track here, but a testing track.
Yeah, it's definitely challenging, and I really like it. I think, as you say, a lot of the focus now is just on one big, really long, grinding climb, and, you know, how can we have the steepest or the longest? This is still tricky. It's by no means not, but it's more about shorter and sharper. So we've got about sort of 4 short climbs within that 3.75k loop.
And it's something of a rhythm breaker, isn't it? So now we saw double poling at the back there. That's Swedish second team, Henriksson. Double poling quite a long way into this one. Then classic style. And then you've got the fast drop over another curve, another hill. And then the technique is vital when you get down, carrying the speed around the corners. So this course really throws all the different aspects of the tool bag into this race.
Yeah, and the transition between the techniques as well, as you say, sort of coming into the uphills with good speed, pushing over the top, working the downhills, keeping momentum on those sort of flatter, slightly uphill sections is really important.
So Jessie Diggins leading the way. It's early days in this race, 3 minutes 29.6 on the clock, and generally, as expected, the big teams are hanging in there. Jessie Diggins is beginning to make them hurt. Little stumble there from Jasmine Joensuu from Finland. And again, fast descent. The fastest descent from this course, this track is about today. I would imagine it'll be a little faster, Posey. It was 73 kilometres an hour yesterday. Maybe a little faster today.
Yeah, I think with the slightly warmer temperatures, that might speed it up a little bit compared to what we were seeing yesterday.
So welcome to the first of the relays this season. We're only 6 minutes old in this race, first lap of 8, and the news at the front is Jessie Diggins is setting a firm pace, and it really is beginning to stretch the field out.
Yeah, we've seen a couple of teams dropping off the back already. I think we've got a relatively young second Swedish team, but actually they're just about hanging in there at the moment. I think we've seen the Germany 2 struggling to stay up with this pace as well, and I think the Kazakh team as well are already a little bit off the pace. But you know, it's great. I'm really pleased to see Germany have put 2 teams in anyway. I think, as you said, it's quite a small field here. It's a bit disappointing, so good to see that they're giving that experience to their younger racers to get out here today anyway.
It's vital, isn't it? You put a World Cup bib on. Yes, you're going to be disappointed sometime in your career, but being detached this early, it's not a positive feeling at the moment, but you learn from it and it makes you stronger.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really valuable, and likewise for the Swedish second team. The chance to do a relay on home soil doesn't come around too often, so it's really good to see that they've put in those younger skiers as well.
That is so true, and good to see the spectators coming out, the brave, always brave, coming out at these temperatures.
Yeah, better to race than to watch sometimes, I think, at these kind of temperatures, but they're well used to it if they're living in the local area.
So coming round into the stadium area, and Jessie Diggins, this is beginning now to hurt the FIS team. This is a mixed team, 3 Italian athletes in with Katrina Gantz, Anna Comarella and Francesca Franchi, and then the ankle leg taken up by a Polish athlete, by Izabela Marsic, former junior world champion. It's great that she's getting an opportunity, but not enough funding to bring the whole team here.
Yeah, it's been a challenge, I think, for some of the smaller nations to keep up. So I'm glad that they're able to do these FIS teams, give some of the athletes who've made the journey the opportunity to get a second race. I think that's really good to see.
It's vital, and of course the Italian team will be building, of course, for the Olympics in just over 2 years' time.
And I think they have some really promising athletes. You mentioned, and hopefully we'll see them again later on, but Francesca Franchi on the third lap had a couple of top tens in the World Champs last year. So they do have some up-and-coming athletes, and they've got a good team in the men's coming up later as well. But just looking back here, as we sort of expected, Mike, we've got these three teams, the USA, Norway and Sweden, starting to break away from the rest. Gant's doing her very best to hang on, but Diggins is setting a pretty fearsome pace at the moment.
That is brutal. And you know, I noticed there that Heidi had to stick in close behind her because Jessie is so good in the technical corners.
Yeah, I think the flip side of that, though, is that, you know, because Diggins is the one who's obviously decided to have this tactic of working hard, she's out front the whole time. So Veng, I've seen a couple of times on the downhills, she's able to stand up a little bit taller, she's not having to tuck so low, so she's getting more recovery on the downhills as well, and that is the risk of this tactic. If you go hard, you're working harder than everyone else.
It's a dangerous tactic. I did think maybe we'd see it when Jessie Diggins begins to understand that there are three athletes glued to her, not letting her go. I thought maybe she'd offer one of them through, come on, someone else take the pace, but that's not in their interest either.
No, and it's just, you know, she does this all the time, and I understand it's my one criticism of her sometimes is she skis with guts and she's happy to put it all out there, but, you know, sometimes is it the best tactic? I do understand in this circumstance. I think it's probably the right thing to do. You know, they have to try and break this up on these first couple of legs. That's their shot if they want to get the victory, but, you know, sometimes she pushes the pace and you could let someone else do a bit of the work.
Absolutely, and Heidi Veng is just very, very comfortable not comfortable at this pace. Of course she's not. It's pretty much on the limit, but she wants to be there to hand over to Bergan in the best possible position. And then, of course, behind Bergan, who just came in there because Slind was unwell this morning. Calva next on leg 3, and Lotta Udnesveng. And still no mention of Tira Udnesveng, the overall Crucial Globe winner as the best all-rounder last year. Not at the races yet. She had COVID recently. Hopefully we'll see her back next weekend in Östersund.
Yeah, I hope so. We've had, as I say, a couple of people who've had difficult starts to the season through illness, and it would be great to see Teal back on the start list. But you know, her sister's really taken a step up this year. You know, maybe taking the leap that Teal took last year. That was a real breakout season for her, and I think we've seen Lotta Udnesveng kind of you know, make a bit of a jump this year as well. She had some really great sprints last year, but not so much in distance.
Oh, I think she's improved massively. Yesterday's result was excellent in 6th position, and she was first Norwegian actually, but 52 seconds behind us first Norwegian. It's unusual. And yeah, she was 4th, of course, last Sunday over 20 kilometres.
Yeah, so yeah, great start for her, and that last leg has a bit of pressure on it, but I think she'll be well suited looking at the team they've gone for. Not more of a distance team, I think, compared to the others. So Lotta Veng, being the biggest sprinter on that team, obviously decided she'd be the best in it if there was a bit of a sprint to a finish.
Good idea, isn't it, to put your fast twitch fibres on the last legs for that last 10 metres.
Yeah, just looking at the front, it's a brilliant race from Gans so far. I think she's done really well to hold on as long as she has, but that pace is starting to just be a little bit much for her as they come into the second lap of this first leg of the relay. And also a little bit much for Germany. I think Germany was the other team we thought might have had a shot at the podium today. I think Gimler just struggling to stay with this really hot pace that Diggins has set.
Yes, I did wonder with Gimler not racing yesterday, have they tried to keep her fresh, keep her strong, but it hasn't worked out. The brief was, of course, stick with the pace. The pace is going to go crazy with Jessie Diggins leading, and sadly unable to stay with that for Laura Gimler.
Yeah, I think the other thing that's interesting, Mike, is the distance today. The women are doing 7.5k, so Gimler has originally come from a bit of a sprint background, so that move from 5 kilometres up to 7.5, that really starts to be a challenge for some for an athlete like her, and whereas it favours obviously someone like Diggins who's got the distance background.
Yes, and that all changed last year when the men and the women, it was deemed, would race the same distances each World Cup, which is the case except major championships. And yes, I used to think that it allowed the weaker nations an opportunity to stick on to the best for slightly longer. Over 5 kilometres, as the women's relay used to be, this now stretches it out to 7.5, and it's significant in terms of, I think, attendance. And maybe we're seeing that today with only 6 straight national teams, or 6 nations with 4 athletes in, and that's not huge numbers. Maybe it will be reviewed.
It'd be interesting to see, and I've enjoyed the 4x5. I think we've seen the men do some 4x5s as well last year, and it's short and it's exciting, and different teams are willing to take a bit of a risk. It's dynamic, as you say, so I'm a big fan of the 4x5 personally.
Well, just under 14 minutes on the clock, and I'm impressed with Moa Lundgren. The brief was stay with the pace, and boy, is she digging deep. That's hurting now. Moa Lundgren, I suppose, outperforming her expectations at the moment. So 5.1 kilometres just completed there by the leaders of a 7.5 before they will come in and hand over to the next athlete, Rosie Brennan. Her final stages of warm-up and mental preparation before she's handed over to possibly, expectations have it, will be first place, probably Norway in second.
Yeah, I think Heidi Weng's doing a stellar job at the moment, though. She's, as I say, I think that's her experience coming through. She's just sitting right behind Diggins. She's not letting Diggins get out of her sight in any way. She's having the benefit, because I said earlier, she's getting more rest on the downhills as well. So I think Heidi Weng's playing this to perfection at the moment. Their interest is just staying with the US. They're not too interested in getting further out front at this point.
Now, the fact that Heidi is there, well done, Jessie. I thought when she's changing track, it is the inside line. I thought she's just giving a hint for someone to come through. It is an easier journey skiing tightly in behind someone, as it is on a bike when you're drafting. I'm wondering if Heidi Weng is ready to explode in the last climbs and maybe to get a little gain into the stadium.
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility. I think as they're starting to ramp up, they'll be coming up to the 6 kilometre marker soon, so into the last sort of k and a half of the race. And I think, if Weng is feeling good, if she's thought, I've let Diggins do all the work here and I've still got a little bit left in the tank, it's certainly worth a go, isn't it?
And it's a joy, isn't it, skiing in behind a slightly stronger athlete. It brings more to your game. And Heidi Weng just anchored there in the background, still hanging on in there. I think that's Gantz coming through for the mixed team, Italy and Poland, just coming ahead of the German Laura Gimler.
That's a great race from Gantz today, and again, as I say, obviously they don't have a full Italian team because they only have the 3 athletes here, but it's great experience for her to be able to do this, and it's a really strong race, and I think good for fitness generally, good to get the experience of racing here, and obviously helpful to have a few more teams on the start list as well. But yeah, good solid race from her, and Gimler's really struggling. She's just sort of coming off the back there, but just about clinging on to Gantz as well, and that'll be doing the German team a favour.
Oh, that's tough. The longest of the climbs, the Gantz and Gimler just coming up over the top of that now. You do get this recovery. Jessie just never gives up, does she? She keeps on punching, keeps on fighting. That determination, her mindset. Wouldn't it be great to just get a plug in and listen to that mindset as she's going around?
Yeah, she'll just be thinking, how can I make this hard for everyone? I think that's generally how her mindset works.
I think so. And all that positivity, if you think you won't, the positivity of the American team, well, we're all going to go out there, we're going to leave it out there, the result will come if it's the day for us, but we'll all give our best. I love the positivity, the mindset of this American team.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think they've got a shot of a good day today there. Oh, that was Finland. The Finland and the Swedish suits are looking very similar at the moment, Patrick. Micah had a minute of wondering if Sweden had dropped off the pace there, but that was Finland and Sweden too we just saw coming through behind.
My jaw dropped open there thinking, what has happened to Sweden? But there they are, comfortably. I think this is a fabulous performance from Moa Lundgren.
Yeah, she's doing a great job, and you can see as they get on these on the slightly longer uphills. I think this is about the last of the big uphills they're coming into here. You can see she is just getting very slightly detached from them, but she's always staying close enough in contention that she's able to bring it back again on the downhills. And as I say, I think that's the benefit of the slipstream. If she can stay just about close enough, she's then able to work on these flatter sections. She's bringing it back on the downhills as well to stay in. So despite the fact that I think the pace is a little bit hot for her on the uphills, she's playing it right to stay close enough.
She certainly is. Well, I think by my calculations, Hayden Lane's just under 3 minutes left of racing before the handover, maybe a little less. And you're right, Lundgren, but this time maybe she snapped. Oh no, she's coming back in again, so she's double pulling furiously to try and hold back Jessie Diggins and Heidi Weng.
Yeah, she's doing. It's a tough pace for her, but she's doing a brilliant job, and I think she's obviously strong on those double pull sections. She's able to sort of pull it back a little bit there, and you know she's doing the right thing there. She's just staying close enough. That is the furthest that we've seen her behind, but I think 6.6. We've got less than a kilometre to go before the handover. I think that she's going to hand over feeling like she's done her job well.
I think she will. And coming up next for the Swedish team, there she is, Emma Ribom. Nervous look back down the line there, and Emma, without a doubt, has the sprint legs to haul any deficit back quickly, but that always comes at a price.
Yeah, it's risky, isn't it? You know, you want to be able to, it's so much better if you can ski with someone, if you can get yourself back to a group. The slipstream, we've been talking about, get the advantage of that, but you don't want to burn all your matches too early.
You certainly don't. Keep some of those matches for later. Jessie Diggins seems to have lifted the pace again. We're down to 2 at the breakaway, or 2 at the front. 19:33 to 20. I think there's less than a minute and a half to go before this handover. So the Swedish team with the sparkles on their cheeks, the American team always with even more sparkles on their cheeks this season. Is the brief. All the while, Heidi Weng, was that Heidi just about to make a move? Yeah. Yes, it is.
Spot on prediction, Mike. As you said, she's had the benefit of that time. She's let Diggins do the work, and she's got something left to just push it rightly, and that's absolutely perfect tactically from Heidi.
And psychologically, to hand over with a 5-10 metre lead, that's okay. It's for Bergan, that's a good news moment. So 2015. Well, some 45 seconds, I think, before the handover. We'll have to wait and see. Pace is still very firm. This is a painful moment for Moa Lundgren. She survived to, well, just under, I should say, 7 kilometres, but suffering now.
Yeah, and she just needs to try and keep that gap as small as possible. I think she's done a brilliant job. I think, you know, this was a tough matchup for her against Weng and Diggins. She'd have liked to stay on the back, but now it's about damage limitation. You've got to keep those seconds as close as possible so that Ribom doesn't have to do too much work to get up to the next 2.
Well, Jessie Diggins, she praised her waxing technicians yesterday. That was a nice glide, element of drafting, but Jessie Diggins has closed it down, handing over almost together just over 21 minutes on the clock. And leg number 2, Bergan, who's just come in at very short notice for Norway, and that's got to be nerve-wracking. She takes the lead point at the moment, and Emma Ribom for Sweden. Getting handed over to now.
I think that was a great job by Lundgren there. 10 seconds is, you know, she just about held it for that last kilometre. The pace was absolutely brutal, but I think that's still a good position for Sweden to be in.
Yes, and it was almost as if Moa Lundgren, her brain, the mindset just broke. I cannot take this anymore, as she came up in towards the stadium. So the FIS team, that's the Italian Gans leading that, taking the first leg on that FIS team to hand over into 4th, and I think she has to be delighted with that performance.
Yeah, it was a brilliant ski by Katarina Gans there for that team. And then just for Germany, I think Gimler, I think that's a little bit disappointing for them to be that far off the pace, but I think that was always going to be hard for Gimler to stick with. She's handed over to Hennig, so the question is, can Hennig do what she's done so well before and pull any time back for Germany now, get them back in contention?
Do you know what, Posey? I think she will. 33 seconds, maybe a bit of a big prediction, but I think she'll pull them all the way back in. So Rosie Brennan on the second leg for the American team. Norway tucked in behind in the shape of Bergan. And this is the technical left, right, left. Left, right, left, right, left. Sounds military, doesn't it?
It's a fun part of the course. It's really twisty-turny. It favours those with good technical abilities, able to stay on their feet and take the corners really well. And it looks to me like Brennan and Bergan have gone for the same tactics we saw in the first leg. Can I just keep the pace high?
That is brutal. Rosie Brennan double poling, so strong, just got out of picture. And this is Emma Rebohm. I thought quite relaxed. She didn't want to do that big attack early on, but now she's realising this is going to be a runaway group unless she gets back in touch, tries to close them down.
Yeah, but she's got to do it sensibly. As I said, if it's you got to rebuild steadily up to that. If you just sprint, as soon as you get back on the group, you've got lactate in your legs, you can't hold on again. So you have to build sensibly enough. When you get back on the back, you can just stick with them and know that your work is done.
And this is very much about strong minds, isn't it? Because right now, of course, Emma Rebohm is hurting. She's wanting to go faster. She's holding back. And then you can get anxious because the gap isn't closing, so you have to then be strong in your mind to stick with this discomfort, this pain, and try and close this, 80 metres deficit she has right now.
Yeah, just needs to be patient here and watch that gap start to disappear.
So this is Rebohm, the second leg for the Swedish team. Ahead of her in the red suit is Bergan for Norway. And Rosie Brennan putting an extremely firm pace. Just over 1 kilometre of her leg completed. The handover was at 7.5. We're just going through 8.5 kilometres now. Well, 8.7. What was it at the handover? I think it was... Oh, she's closed a little.
It's a little bit there, not sort of eating that time up, but as I said, she does need to be patient, and we'll see if she can bring that in even more. And then next up, as I said, that's Hennig. So she's obviously decided she doesn't want to work with anyone else around her. She's just got to blast it and see what time she can make up. Still staying pretty steady. 33 seconds, I think, is about what it was at the handover.
You're spot on. I think my prediction here was 33. It was. My prediction of her closing the gap. It's a big prediction.
Trust yourself, Mike.
Sorry?
You got to back yourself.
I'm going to stick with it. It's highly unlikely, but I'll stick with it. The momentum that Rosie Brennan has up front there, it's absolutely sucking the energy out of these fresh legs of the second leg athletes. Immonen came in just this morning at short notice for Finland, and this is one of the weaker teams I think I've ever seen over many years for Finland. Any background to that, Posey?
I'm struggling, to be honest. We saw Iivo Niskanen have a good race last week in Ruka. That's his favourite. That classic race in Ruka is his favourite. But other than that, the Finns just haven't performed yet this season across the board, men and women. I'm not quite sure what it is that they're struggling with.
It's bizarre, and with absolute respect for Rita-Liisa Roponen, she's 45 and a half years old now. Sorry, I thought I put that half in. And total respect, she's still a brilliant cross-country skier, but it's unusual for a team to call in. She's still racing well, but it's unusual. The development for me is where there seems to be an issue.
Yeah, I think so. And if you have that gap, and if there are people that aren't performing, for me, the sensible thing to do is to give someone new an opportunity. Bring in the younger skiers, let them have that taste of World Cup racing. Like we talked about with Sweden too. They might be tricky for them, but they get that feel for it, and it stands them in well for the future. So to bring in a 45-year-old, I'm with you. I think she's brilliant. I love the fact that she's still training and competing at a high level, but it's a look back. It's not a look forward.
Yes, and as I said, no disrespect whatsoever. Roponen, she'll absolutely give her best, and it's still a very good best, as she showed yesterday, up into the upper part of the field, and she is a 5 times Olympian, so huge experience, Olympic medals in the relay, personal best of 6th. I think that was back in Vancouver, 2010.
So we're talking 13 years ago, which again shows that point, doesn't it, about where they're looking to for their skiers.
And again, her story, her legend is even bigger. She started her first World Cup race, competed in 24 years ago. That is a journey.
That'll be before some of these skiers were born.
Exactly, exactly. So absolute respect for Rita Liisa Ropinen. Coming up next leg for Finland.
So it looks like this pace that Brennan's setting is starting to have an impact. I thought Bergan would be able to stay on her tail there, but it's too much for Bergan at the moment. But good news for Reboom, able to at least get back on the tail of Bergan there. So maybe the two of them can start to work together, see if they can bridge that gap up to Brennan. But Brennan's having an absolute blinder at the moment.
Do you know what? The brief for Rosie Brennan, for Jessie Diggins, Rosie Brennan, all the way down the line, Sophie Laufey coming next, is to keep the form to get an advantage before the last leg.
Yeah, and she's certainly listened, hasn't she? That gap is certainly growing at the moment, and I think she's come on a lot in classic in the last couple of years as well. We talked a bit about Diggins and how she's improved with her classic. I think Brennan's previous podiums had been in skate, and last weekend she had her first classic podium in Riga. So again, the confidence is there in the classic skiing.
Well, what was it, 11 years ago we saw at the start of this program the Americans were in third position, the women, that was over 4 by 5 kilometers, and that was one of their earlier podium positions. But today it's looking fantastic. At 10 kilometers, still a long way to go, 10.3 kilometers accomplished at the moment. Bergan, Posey, you mentioned Bergan. I didn't think she's such a fighter. She has the mindset to die for, but the body for me isn't functioning the way she would like just now. She didn't look that strong yesterday, when generally she's such a smooth and easy freestyler over 10 kilometers.
Yeah, and I agree. Like looking at her there as she came through, she looked much less relaxed than the other two. Looked like she was sort of fighting it. It's quite like choppy, not such a smooth glide compared to the others. So it feels like she's having to really, really work to keep that going.
Yep. Well, my prediction on Hennig. She's not closing the gap to Rosie Brennan, but she really is making significant damage into Reboom and Bergan, and maybe she'll just absolutely keep on fighting to try and haul in positions 3 and 2. Rosenberg, so this is Sweden's second team, it's a strong team. Märta Rosenberg on this leg, Lisa Ingersson on third leg, and Louise Lindström taking the anchor for the Swedish second team. So many, I'm sure they left some of the decent athletes out from yesterday to bring in more athletes to give them experience, and I think that's very clever. The Swedish team have kept the youngsters coming through, have introduced them to World Cup racing, and that's a great positive move, I think.
Absolutely, and they've got, for me, the Swedish women have just far and away got more depth than anyone else. As I said, look at all the people that they don't have on the start list today. They don't have Carlson, who's sick. They don't have Dahlqvist. They don't have Sundling or Svan, and that's a full team there that could be a win anyway. So to say that those ones missing and they still have two good teams just shows how much depth they have.
Certainly does. That was beautiful technique, I thought, from Brennan. You mentioned improved technically. It makes the efficiency, the energy output much more efficient on the way around.
Yeah, and Reboom now starting to take a gap.
Yeah, that's bad news for Bergan. Very bad news. She's suffering. Reboom is wondering what do I need to do to close this down. So they've done the first lap of 3.75. Brilliant fighting, attacking, demoralizing for the rest of the team's performance from the American team. Rosie Brennan just absolutely flying through the stadium. Reboom, I think, is she's played the slow, the patient game, but she now, without doubt, is on her limit. Can she keep that? Can she keep surviving on her limit, or is Rosie Brennan going to extend this further at lap 4?
The gap is growing, but Reboom's put time into Bergan there, so she's now comfortably in second place. So still good ski from her. I think she'd like to see if she could push that gap down to Brennan. But she's having a good race as well here. But Brennan absolutely flying at the front here. And this is what we said they needed to do. Diggins and Brennan needed to push the pace for the first couple. Their third and fourth leg skiers are good, but they're not so good compared to those two. So if they can go in with a good cushion, that'll give Lautli quickly and carrying some real confidence.
It will. It's still such a testing course. You still have to respect and take your pacing carefully, or you will fade. So Sweden and Ribom now on her own to try and close this gap. You can see Norway detached in third place. This is a surprise and a lot of tension and fear, if you like. You can feel from Bergan, the eyes are restless, just watching. I've got to try and stay with this. Here comes Hennig.
Yeah, I think Hennig not making the time up on first place on Brennan, but she's definitely making that time up on Bergan there, and she looks more comfortable. Bergan looks to me very upper body heavy. It feels like she's overcompensating with the arms. I don't know if the kick is in there or if her technique's just not quite under her. It feels like she's having to really overdo it with the upper body.
Interesting. Rosie Brennan, she got a little bit, the weight was a little back exiting the final curve there, but no problem. And the fight is all there. She's aware, of course she is, and the coaches have been informing her that the Emma Ribom is not really being detached. It's still running at about 10, 11, 12 seconds, this deficit back to second place. And Bergan now is in no man's land, with Hennig probably going to see her, well there we are, see her quite soon.
Yeah, this is tough for Bergan. This is the territory when you just have to fight. You have to put it behind you that you've been overtaken, that you've lost that time to 1 and 2. Just focus on skiing your own race and not trying to worry too much about Hennig. But Hennig's just eating up that ground up to third place at the moment. I think she's having, and that gives you that confidence. You know, for Hennig, that's someone to chase and to fight to get up to. So it's a good place for her to be in.
Lovely flowing technique. I've been following some of Hennig's training this summer, and she's been opening schools and doing plenty publicly after her success at the Olympic Games. And she seems to be in a happy place with her training. I thought she may have done more or tried. Yes, she's been doing a lot of freestyle on roller skiing and in terms of roller skiing in the summer months. But her freestyle is still definitely weaker than her classic.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think it's good. It's a bit like we've said for Diggins and Brennan. You know, one technique is good, but the other, when you see them in their preferred technique, you just sort of get that feel of what they're more comfortable in and what they have the confidence in, as well as the technique just being a little bit better.
Well, the athletes at the back, Hennig at the back of this lead four, absolutely is aware of where Rosie Brennan is. She'll be getting split times. I think the German coach is just down on the right-hand side. Passing on the information is vital. Well, this is interesting, actually. Ribom now, for the first time, the gap is opening significantly, down to 19 seconds. So Sweden now beginning to lose their way a little in this race.
Yeah, that's Brennan's really been able to open that gap up. I think it was 8 seconds at the start between Ribom and those first two teams, so she's lost another 10 seconds there. Hennig started 30 seconds behind, so Hennig's staying steady with Brennan, if nothing else. So good race by Hennig as well, but Bergan is struggling.
Yes, when the faster athlete Hennig came through, I thought that Bergan, it's a bad sign for an athlete if there's not even an impulse to stay with this athlete right now. That wasn't there, so really struggling right now for Norway, which is a crazy thing to say in a women's relay.
Yeah, it's so many years, isn't it, that we're just used to seeing them on top, but it's just not been their year for the last year or two. No, it's a team in the making, or rebuilding. Certainly the men's team later will be the team to chase, as it has been for many years. Yeah, but this is just brilliant skiing by Rosie up the front. I knew she would be wanting to work hard and try to do what Diggins tried to do in the first, but it's impressive to see it in action. She's just taking time out of everyone here. Huge respect for this American team, and it's a very strong Swedish team behind, but I suppose the Swedes commentating on this back home on the Swedish channel will be saying, well, hang on, we don't have Carlson here today, we're not the best team, sadly there's a lot of bad health in the Swedish team right now.
But even so, it's a wonderful performance from the Americans.
It is. And I think if you look ahead to the third lap, we're going to have Ebba Andersson going off against Sophia Laukley. So that they will be thinking they can make up time there, but it really depends on how much this gap goes by the handover period, because we know how good Ebba Andersson is, but is she good enough to make up 30-40 seconds, which is what it's at risk of being at the moment?
Yes, well, we know she's the eternal fighter as well, just like the mindset Jessie Diggins has. Rosie Brennan has the same. In fact, it's part of the deal, isn't it? If you're a top cross-country skier, you need to have this mental toughness.
Yeah, absolutely. But good day for the Americans so far, and I wonder if they're going to start to think, Mike, about this. Can they beat their best result? They've been third a couple of times in the relays, but never better, and I think this could be a day.
It could be their day to be at the top of the podium. That's incredible. And that would ripple back to America. It's not a big sport. Jessie Diggins and Keegan Randall before her have lifted the profile, and a World Cup going to Jessie's home city, Minnesota. It's all happening. It's all coming together.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I'm pleased to see the World Cup going back across to Canada and the US this year. It's been quite a long time. I think it was supposed to happen in 2020, was it? With COVID, when it all got cancelled, they had that World Cup planned in Minneapolis. So good to see that finally back on the schedule. So been a long time coming, and she's such a good ambassador for the sport.
She is, yes. 17th and 18th of February in Minneapolis. You ever been there, person?
I have not been there, no, so I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah. I've been flying into that city, and then not far away. I think we went for the American Championships one, biathlon, and lovely area.
Very nice.
Good skiing. So the race is still on, 38 minutes, just under 39 minutes on the clock, and Emma Riebaum.
She's starting to look tired. You can see as they get tired that the stride shortened. She's not getting the kick, and that's Hennig can sense that as well. I think look how much more dynamic she looks. She's got so much more power going into each stride compared to Riebaum, who's really struggling over the top of the hill.
I hope you see that side view again. You could just get a great picture of the way that Hennig compresses, then glides, bounds so easily on one leg.
Yeah, much more dynamic, and Brennan's still looking good up front. She's got less than a kilometre to go, so she knows the end is in sight. She's still pushing the pace up front and still looking really strong.
She is. I love the compression there through the arms, the tall poles to get all the leverage back and all the force going forward. Here comes Hennig again. She passed Bergan for Norway. Is she going to pass Sweden? Well, Riebaum's still there ahead of her in second place at the moment. And there's Bergan. She's fought well, hasn't she? Suffering badly. She hadn't expected last night going to bed that she'd be racing today, and that's always a bit of a shock to the system so early in the morning.
Yeah, I think that's true. We do have to remember that it wasn't until this morning that she knew she was even starting. So it's a bit of it's mentally very different, and having prepped the night before, thought about it, all that kind of thing. So it's a challenge. I'm sure she'll have been really pleased to get the relay start, but it's certainly not easy.
And Norway, so at 40 seconds deficit, can Kirsti Kalva, can she pull any of that back? It's unlikely she'll pull it back from Anderson, who will be chasing. Sophie Laukley for America will be leading, and this is quite a substantial lead and a significant lead out front for this American team.
Yeah, and Laukley's had a good season so far, so having that 25-second lead they've got at the moment, that's a great place for her to be in.
Sophia Laukley nervously, anxiously, but ready to unleash from the line for the third leg in the American team. Significant separation from Team 1 back to, now it's Hennig, the German athlete, in position 2, chasing down. But still, the deficit is quite huge.
This is an absolutely phenomenal leg by Brennan. She's just broken the pack apart. It was already down just to two of them at the front, but she's taken so much time out of Bergan. She's extended the lead over Sweden, the main rivals, I think, for that victory. So she's got to feel pleased when she finished today. She's been such a strong skier. She's had a brilliant start to the season all round, and she's done her bit today. That's a great ski from her.
It's brilliant. It really is. And 24.1 seconds, Posey, last time of asking. Maybe with the momentum from Germany there, Hennig might have closed a little, but as it stands, leg 3, the Americans are controlling this race. Two fabulous legs from Jessie Diggins and Rosie Brennan. Now their responsibility hands over to Sophia Lauchley. Well, they have closed down a little. It was 24 seconds, so marginally they've improved on that. 19.1 in 2 seconds the deficit.
Okay, that's actually great from them. I think psychologically, just being under the 20-second barrier, I think that's a good place. And now it's just going to be a question for me of can Anderson make that time back?
Well, Anderson will be going for it. I cannot remember, Posey, when we've said at this stage in the race at half distance effectively that Norway coming in over 45 seconds behind and in 4th place. It's been a long, long time. In fact, Sochi, where they had a horrific wax day in the Olympic relay, was probably the last time it was as poor as this at half distance.
Yeah, and that was a shock as well. Remember, they had the best team by far, and everyone thought they would walk away with it, and somehow weren't anywhere near. So it does happen. I think this is more of a less good team maybe than a less good ski day.
Yes.
But they've still got Calver and Lotte Nisveng, so a couple of good skiers to come, and Sweden too doing really well there in 5th place, I think, so they can be pleased with that as well.
They certainly can. I think that was a great leg from Rosenberg. She kept with the pace. She was in no man's land for a lot of the race. And now Lisa Ingersson from Piteå Ski Club. So Piteå's not far from here, just at the top of the Baltic. The sea that comes up, we're way further northwest of that point, way up into Lapland in northern Sweden and Gällivare. You take this road when you're driving all the way up to the very top of Sweden, you pass through Gällivare, and it's one incredible drive all the way down to the south of Sweden to get the ferries. So welcome back at the front, looking again as aggressive as her teammates did. Jessie Diggins, the ultimate fighting machine. Then Rosie Brennan, didn't give up, didn't give in. Now it's Sophia Lauchley, but she's got Anderson on her case. Emma Anderson is really, she knows full well she has to hit this hard. Maybe the tactic will be to hit this so hard, take it at a firm pace, then rest in behind Lauchley if that is to happen, and then work on your strategy from there on in.
Yeah, it's an interesting battle this, Mike. I think Anderson is the stronger skier, and I think if I was her I'd be thinking I can take 20 seconds out of Lauchley, but Lauchley's had a good season as well. She's had some top 15s, she likes skate, she likes the distance, so this is someone who would prefer this to be 7.5 and not 5, she'll like the slightly longer distance, I think, but Anderson she's she is the best in the world pretty much at the moment, apart from Carlson, who's obviously not here, so Anderson's got to be thinking she can do that.
I think so. That, in the mindset, the briefing is right, you've got to close this gap. But yes, Lauchley yesterday was 13th over 10 kilometres. Total respect, that's a good result. 16 seconds, and it was at the handover down to 19 seconds.
So yeah, but it's a big ask, and again we've said before, how do you do it? You don't want to push the pace too fast too early, so you don't want to risk it if you can just build it back up steadily, but equally you want to make that gap, don't you?
You do. 3 seconds is okay to this point. Anderson closing it down from 19. If you're looking, this is Norway. They're not at the front if you've just joined us. They're in 4th place, and they've got a lot of work to do at 51 deficit. There's Pia Fink in third place at 16.7, latching into Anderson. That's a firm pace. I hope that Pia Fink can handle that pace.
Yes, I think that's the other question. I think for the Germans, it's a tricky position. It's a good position to be in. Hennig had a brilliant lap there. They've made it back up, but for Fink, do you risk sticking with Anderson, who realistically is a level above her, and risk really burning yourself out, or do you ski your own race and just focus on that third place?
Yes, it's tough, isn't it? When you're trying to figure out the strategy. In fact, you figure out the strategy on the run, how you feel, how the athlete ahead is looking, how the situation that you're in, whether you're in a pack or individual. But there's one certainty right now. This lady, of course, Ebba Andersson, is absolutely on her limit to close this down. She's racing at home. They want the victory here, but the problem is, so do the Americans.
Absolutely. I think they'd love to have their first victory. I mean, they love the relays, the Americans. The women in particular, they've had those podiums, but they've never had that first, and it means so much to them. I know it does to everyone, but I mean, they'd love to have their victory here, especially the first ever place that they got on the podium in a relay as well. So, how great would that be? Diggins' first ever relay victory about 10 years ago, and then 10 years later come back with a victory.
Absolutely incredible. It would be a real historic day for cross-country skiing for the American team, but it's not by any means over yet. Anderson desperately trying to close down, and then a very strong anchor leg for the Swedish team in the shape of Moa, Ilar.
Yeah, I think
she's transformed herself this summer. They always say cross-country skiers are made in the summer. She certainly has made herself much better in the summer months.
I agree, and she's been on the verge of being good for the last couple of years. We've seen a couple of good results from her, but just what a step up she's taken this year. And I think because there's so many good Swedish women at the moment, it's easy for them to go under the radar. So it wasn't maybe a name that we were looking out for coming into this season. It was all about Anderson and Carlson, but what a brilliant start she's had.
Yeah, I think absolutely. Was that them in the background there? Lauchley just needs to try. Extreme pressure position she finds herself in, but she somehow needs to try and find relaxation. There was quite a lot of tightness there, I felt, in her technique.
Yeah, look, she looked a little bit tense, but you would be, wouldn't you, knowing the position that you're in and feeling the responsibility of holding on to that. But she's looking pretty good to me. I think she's nice and smooth on the skis still. She's good, strong with the upper body. She's pegging along at quite a good tempo, but Anderson, as per usual, looking very good there.
She is. I'm surprised at the last point of checking. Still 16 seconds. Has it closed, or maybe it is now? This is really picking up and beginning to hurt Pia Fink, who's on survival mode, just has to survive this little climb. Then she may well get back into the tail end of Anderson's skis. Well, it certainly looks like they've taken it down from 16 maybe to 12. This is a significant change. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, that's good from Anderson, isn't it? Down to 11 seconds now. I think she's doing what we said. She's chipping away. She's not done 20 seconds faster in 2 kilometres, but she's already made up 8 seconds, so she's got to be feeling good.
Yes, 8 seconds, that's significant. Not even the first rotation of 2 times around. Now, how does Norway feel and look? Calva, such a strong athlete. It was at the changeover, I think it was just confirm, I think it was 45 seconds.
Yeah, she's losing time again here to Lauchley. And Calva, to me, is just not quite on the form she was last year. She had such a brilliant season. Not quite, I think, again, she's another one. She had COVID earlier at the start of the season, so missed the season opener races the weekend before the World Cup, and maybe just not quite on top form there yet. Looks just not too sparky, I wouldn't say.
And that makes a difference, doesn't it? You plan your selection races, your training races, selection races, and when you step back from that, your body needs to find its racing feeling again. It's and the form, all that base training, all the interval work needs to be put together. So yes, Calva has certainly more to give, I think.
Yeah, I think so, and it's the sharpness that you get from racing as well. It takes a couple of weeks, I think, to build back in and to remember what it feels like to go at race pace and to bring, as you say, all the training that you've done, bring it all together.
And even the pain, getting used to the discomfort, the pain again, and how to deal with it. Well, there we are. It was 20, 24, 19, 16, 15, down to 11, and I think that's closing all the way. So Lauchley may well find herself with some company soon in the shape of Sweden's Ebba Andersson.
Fink's doing well there. She's not quite on Anderson's tail, but so far she's not let the gap drop too much. I think the question for me is, has she worked too hard in this first half? So as she comes into as they come into their second lap, has she done too much? But she got good skis as well there. She made up a little bit of time on that downhill coming into the stadium. So it'll be interesting to see if Fink can hold on, or if she's just worked a little bit too hard on the first lap.
Yes, I was just trying to do some calculations there. Pia Fink was 17th yesterday, 1:35 behind Jessie Diggins, and of course there was a gap of 23 seconds. And then Anderson, so what are we looking at? So yeah, just one. So Pia Fink was 1 minute 13, 14 seconds slower than Anderson yesterday, and she's managed to live with it all this way around a tough 3.75. Lauchley is aware and fully aware that there's going to be company, and quite soon it appears. Pia Fink certainly outperforming her on paper expectations.
Yeah, I love the German women. We talked a bit about the Americans and how much the relay means to them and the success they've had here, but the German women, they just have been consistently outperforming themselves in relays at the big occasions recently. So they had that silver in the World Championships last year, following on from the same in Beijing, which was an unbelievable result. I don't think anyone had them put for a podium there, and they came in silver ahead of everyone apart from the Russian team.
It was incredible, and that's given the team a massive boost of confidence, hasn't it?
And it's a team that's, they're bigger than the sum of their parts. You wouldn't put Pia Fink as someone that's down to be a podium contender on a given day in her own right, but this is the same lineup we said before. It's the same lineup they had in the World Champs last year, and they just seem to come together and able to perform their best.
I love it. Pia Fink, and it's hard when you go over your comfort zone for a length of time. The lactic is boiling in your system, and you just simply, physiologically, if you're not at that level, it's nigh on impossible to live with it. The body just rejects it. I cannot keep this pace up. Calva, may take some hope when she gets the split times. Posey just trying to listen to what he said. He didn't say much, but they split times very soon. That Pia Fink is beginning to suffer. That will give Calva in fourth place hope for at least a podium for Norway today.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think knowing that is there someone that you, like we saw with Hennig, be able to chase up to third and then second place, knowing there's someone that might be in touching distance of catching up to that's going to be good for Calva. But Calva to me is still looking heavy, still looking a bit flat on those uphills.
Certainly does. Great performance from at the front. Lauchley to keep the speedy Anderson at bay to this point on the track, just under the hour of racing, coming up 55 minutes soon.
Yeah, I think the crucial point is Anderson's just about on her table. The crucial point is for Lauchley not getting worried when Anderson gets to her, just being calm and staying with her.
So a significant change to the shape of this race. It's been America from the gun leading, and now all of a sudden Lauchley has found herself with some company, and it's Ebba Andersson. So Sweden at home, on home snow, now very much back in the race. Well, she hasn't gone past, but she's there. Lauchley's tried to put on, and that's a good psychological kick there. When someone comes up behind you, they're at their limit, then you put a sprint on to try and demoralise a little. It may work for one hill, but I don't think it's going to work for the whole rest of this 7.5.
And that's Fink just dropped off the pace there. She's lost 10 seconds, and that's just in about the last kilometre as well since the stadium. So we've seen that so often once you lose contact, the gap just starts to grow. But she's still fighting, and she's still got a good gap there back to fourth place as well. So she's got to focus on skiing her own race for the rest of this and not worrying too much about what Anderson and Lauchley are doing in front of her.
It is a focus game, isn't it? So 20.1, I think that was on the clock, and yes, only 3 teams. Here comes Norway. Well, she was handed over to at 48 seconds deficit, Calva, so that's okay. So in terms of Lauchley, she's just lost 3 seconds to Lauchley. And as I say, we mentioned earlier, she'll be seeing the German athlete Pia Fink ahead of her, and that will give Calva some positivity.
It's a big gap to make up still, though. She's still got about 36 seconds, I think, up to Pia Fink, and 2.5 kilometres to go. So she's got a lot of work to do there.
It's absolutely huge, yes, has to be respected. Look at Emma Anderson. She didn't rest up at all in behind Likely. She's just gone and attacked Effect. Come on, Likely, you have to try and live with this. Likely's put such a firm pace in. This will be a very tough moment in her race, in her career. To have been leading the American team in leg 3. Come on.
Yeah, she's still working hard though. The important thing is the mental aspect here. Just don't let it get to you that you've been passed. Just keep pushing. She worked so hard up that hill. She's just got to keep on focusing on not letting the gap grow and giving Kern a fighting chance.
Oh, that was the fighting attitude. You're absolutely right. The effort as soon as she came to the flatter part of the hill to try and get the momentum down this fast section of the course. Well, although there are not many at the front, Posey, it's a very exciting race at many levels, with the Americans for the first time doing so much at the front in this race.
Yeah, it's still all to play for here. I think if Anderson can put a bit of a lead here, I think they've got to feel good going into the last leg. But it's not guaranteed, and we know Eli's in good form, but it's a lot of pressure being that anchor leg. So still nothing decided at the front here, but important for Anderson to push the pace, and important for Laukley just to try and not let that gap grow too big.
Yes, and just imagine what's going through Julia Kern's head. She's the anchor leg for America. I suppose the same with Moa Ilar, but we know Moa Ilar is on really good form on the podium. Look at Laukley, this is brilliant. Laukley digging so deep here to try and allow her teammate Julia Kern to start alongside. This is brilliant. Does Anderson even know that she's making something of a fight back?
Yeah, great by Laukley. Just watching her go up that hill there. She's super smooth still. She's working hard. She's not let that gap grow too much on the uphills as often when Anderson wants to break people as well, but she's not let that happen.
Well, Moa Ilar there with the sparkles, anxiously looking up the track. I think Eva Anderson, she'll look forward to the rest, of course, tomorrow, but there's another World Cup in Sweden next weekend in Östersund.
Yeah, great sort of pre-Christmas Scandinavian block. Some good opportunities for some home racing here, but she'll just be focusing right now on this last kilometre, just getting across the line as well as she can, seeing if she can make any more time there, seeing if she can make Laukley hurt.
So 21.6 kilometres. Sweden now have been at the front for a couple of minutes. America still absolutely there or thereabouts, 2.1 seconds adrift. Significant change for Pia Fink, the German athlete, who really put in a good first lap of 2 laps. And now the deficit is continuing to grow. Whereas Norway not seen yet in the background, so safely in third place for Germany, the silver medalist from the World Championships in February.
Yeah, handing over to Victoria Karl, who's had a good season as well so far. So yeah, good chance for them, I think, Germany, to at least hold on to that third position they've got. But still all to play for going into this last leg.
Eva Anderson trying to just gain a couple more seconds psychologically to allow Moa Ilar a significant gap leading into the final leg of 7.5 kilometres.
Yeah, looking really good there, Anderson. We talked about the importance of working the corners and the sort of twists and turns on this course, and Anderson trying to get everything out there as she goes into that last bend and comes into the stadium.
Sweden will be almost a sigh of relief from the spectators. At last we're at the front at home in this season's first relay competition.
Yeah, it's a great boost coming in there and hearing that crowd cheering you on as well. So she's got the crowd on her side. She's such a brilliant athlete, but she's starting to take a little bit more time out of Laukley. But Laukley's had a good run here. I know she'll be disappointed to lose that time, but when Anderson caught up to her, she's done well to not let the gap grow.
Oh, I think she's done an amazing job. And a new situation is always a difficult situation. To find herself at the front on leg 3 by 19 seconds, huge responsibility. And I think Laukley Loudley has passed many tests today. So third exchange coming up, last athlete about to get underway. Moa Ilar, she's on form, she's in great shape, both classic and freestyle, and this is the final leg in freestyle. 4.6 seconds, great job from Loudley, and now unleashing the ankle leg for of course America, Julia Kern. Can she close those 4 seconds? Is she even going to attempt to? We'll have to wait and see. 20 seconds deficit. Well, when I say attempt to, of course she's going to try and attempt to close it. I suppose what I meant was, is she going to try and really attack quickly to get in the slipstream?
4 seconds is that thing, that gap where you think that maybe it's worth putting a burst in to try and make that time up here. I think the Americans are in half a danger of dropping to third here. I think Carl has been in pretty good form. It'd be interesting to see if they love this second place. I think they've still got a shot of that.
Interesting posy, very interesting, and a very good point. So 57.58, 57.4 in the end. Norway in fourth position, leading into the final leg. And it's a very rare scenario where they're not in the podium positions at this stage in a relay. So Sweden at the front, America still closely in second. It was 4.4 seconds. And Julia Kern just has to play a clever game and bring something special to her performance today, should they want that first ever gold medal in the relay. I would imagine Ilar's brief was, okay, you have to maintain this lead. Don't give any hope to the American team. Julia Kern will take every advantage if you allow her in, and she would lock on and stay with her.
I think what's going to be giving Ilar that confidence is her victory last weekend in the mass start. So she knows she's got that sprint finish as well. So I think she's in a good place right now.
She must be. She must, in her mind, have a lot of confidence, some nerves, but a lot of confidence. So here we are, the women's relay, 4x7.5. And at the front, it's the home team leading the way at the moment, not by much. America in second place, who've been leading most of this race, and Germany in third place. If you've just joined us, you might be thinking, what has happened to Norway? Well, they did have a replacement come in for Slind Bergan, who's a very good athlete, but from the gun, they have lost their way in this race, and some 54 seconds behind.
Yeah, I think they paid the price for that second leg, didn't they? Heidi Weng started them off well, but Bergan just struggled to hold it, and I think Calver, as you said, just not looking on form, couldn't bring it back again. So it's an awful lot of work for Lotte Udnesveng to do on this last lap if they're going to be in any chance of a podium finish today.
Yes, maybe just a little too much of a challenge. But Lotte Udnes, as you said, is in form. Well, this is so significant. 4.6 it was when they handed over, and Julia Kern has not managed to do anything in terms of breaking that 4 seconds down. It's gone the other way, 15.2 deficit now. What was your term there? A half hope, or what was it?
Half a chance?
Half a chance. There is half a chance. Yes, I think, and of course, Victoria Carl think that she can close down on Julia Kern. So tough moments here coming up in Gällivare. Julia Kern in second place, still in second place, but with Victoria Carl able to see her on the long straights, this is going to be a tough race. There is Victoria Carl, really tall and strong athlete from Oberhof, or Zella Mellis just down from Oberhof in the former East Germany. So Germany down to 30 seconds.
The gaps are growing at the front here, aren't they? I think Norway looking like they're going in the wrong direction at the moment to get on the podium, so not looking good. I think for me, it's hard to see anything happening to Sweden at the front here. Ilar's looking so good. She's taken that time out of Kern already. So I think the only question for me here is second, third. Can Carl do anything, or can Kern surprise us and bridge that gap back up to first.
Bridge that gap. It's a tough gap to bridge, isn't it? Very much. But I'm just looking at it. Moa Ilar has gone off like lightning, so that must have been the brief. She is a sprinter, so she's got all that former sprinter. She's got all that sprint power. My only thought is that has she gone out too hard?
Gone too hard? Yeah, that I did. You know, that's a lot. 10 seconds to take in a kilometre.
It's huge.
Yeah, she got a little bit carried away with the moment and the pressure, and pushed the pace too much. There is definitely a chance of that. So she needs to settle into her race. A 15-second lead is good. So if I was a coach, I'd be saying to her, take it steady. Don't take your foot off the gas necessarily, but just think about steady pacing. Just use the lead you've got. Don't try to extend it too much more right now.
And I think the writing is beginning to be seen on the wall with such a closeness now, and visually got Julia Kern in front of also advantage Victoria Carl, who is in form. And this is surprising me a little. Rosie Lotta Udnesveng, she's absolutely in good form, 6th position yesterday. And it appears as if she hasn't really. She was 57 seconds at the exchange and down to 1:13. But I know that's based on Moa Ilar, who's setting a phenomenal pace early on. Yeah. She's so fast the camera isn't picking her up.
She's already gone past. I don't know where she is.
And just while I can, just want to talk the rest of the teams. We've got Sweden at the front. We've just seen America go through. Here's Germany's first team coming into picture now. Norway are not at the races today. Not a great day for the Norwegian team. Behind them, but by over a minute, it's Swedish second team. Then the FIS team, 3 Italians, 1 Polish athlete. Finland, disappointingly for them, down in 7th. And Germany's second team, some 3 minutes 47 seconds behind.
Yeah, big gaps opening up, and as I said, just cannot work out what's going on with this Finnish team at the moment. Just haven't showed up at all this season yet, so disappointing for them. Yes,
big surprise. That's probably apart from Norway in 4th place, the Finnish team down in 7th. A lot of work to do there. Yes, they're bringing fresh athletes in, I would imagine, for next weekend's races in Östersund. So look at this, 22 deficit, and Victoria Carl not quite completed one of the 2 laps on this last leg. Well, there we are, within touching distance.
I mean, again, the question is, has Carl gone off too hard? Has she worked too much, and is she going to struggle? But she's still looking quite strong to me there, so it doesn't look to me like she's kind of gone over her limit as yet.
And still a long way to go. It's only the 7th lap, not onto the last lap yet, so a lot can happen if the pacing hasn't been taken sensibly in the early parts of this race. Looking so strong at the front though, Sweden, in the shape of Moa Ilar. Brilliant season so far. 4th position in the first race. She didn't take part in the sprints up in Ruka. 4th place in the Classic. She won the 20-kilometre freestyle, mass start, and she came from nowhere. Well, she hid nicely in the pack, never took any lead work, and then of course again another podium yesterday, 3rd place. So Moa Ilar absolutely on form. Victoria Carl, she nearly went over a little left, off balance there, then a little right.
Yeah, just what's what happens when you're pushing it to the limit. I think these wobbles show in, but that's what this course is so important, to be able to manage the downhills and the corners. So you have to work on everything. It's not just about the uphills and the aerobic capacity. It's about technique and corners and working the whole way around.
Absolutely is, and you need to be the rounded athlete, don't you, to cope with all those different aspects. And that's what I think we find here in Gällivare. The course profile is one of the best tests for the rounder, the all-rounder. Fast cornering, extreme climbs, short, sharp climbs. Well, with 1 lap to go, Julia Kern is fully aware that she's got company nearby in the shape of similar sizes. They're very tall athletes, very strong athletes. Victoria Carl about to come up alongside, I would imagine, the American team. So significant change for the Americans to have led all the way into the first lap of the 3rd leg, and now it's all changed.
It's about, the important thing here for me for the Americans is about positivity. So I think if you've been in 1st first by that much, you could think, oh God, I'm about to go drop down to third place. That's bad, but third place in a relay is a great result for them. They've celebrated every time they've been on the podium, so they have to look at it like, can I stay in the fight here? Can she stay with Carl if Carl tries to come past her? Just focus on your own race again, as I keep saying. I think that's really important, and don't think about what you've lost. Think about what you've still got to do for this last lap.
It's so much going on. Interestingly there, I can't see which coach it is, the German coach down the bottom. He wasn't indicating right, beat the Americans. He was pointing up the track, catch the Swede.
No pressure there.
Yeah, there's the coach down the bottom there, right. Get it, look forward, go and chase the next one. You've got the American, now catch the Swedish athlete. Well, this not a great moment for Lotte Udnesvang. There's not much she can do about it though, let's be honest.
No, it's a bit lonely back there by herself. She's got a big gap up to these next places, a lot of ground to make up.
So as Germany come past the American team, who've done so well, they're still doing a great job at the races. What's going through Julia Kern's mind right now, Posey? What do you think the options are here?
I think, as I say, she's got to stay calm. She's got to not think, oh, we were in first and now we're dropping down. She's got to think, I've been caught by a good skier, but I'm a sprinter, I'm an experienced skier, I can manage the situation. So I think I'd try and stay on Carl's tail. Kern's a sprinter, that's her bread and butter, so if she can just stay with her, she's got a fighting chance at the end there.
Yes, I'm beginning to feel that as well, because yes, Julia Kern, very good sprinter, and it's much more. We mentioned in the first leg how economical it is if you're tucked in behind the athletes ahead, so you're just like cycling, averaging around 23 kilometers an hour here today, and that's significant. So if Julia Kern, she can't break Carl on the track, that's been proven, can't beat her if it's full pace. Now it's tactics.
Yeah, and I think that there might have been a point where she was getting the splits to realise that Carl was taking her up, and she may be, we're obviously speculating, but maybe she thought, well, look, she's gaining time on me, I'm going to let her do it, I'm going to ease off and save some energy. That's a strategy as well that you can do. It's not all about, I said she can be a bit critical of digging sometimes. She just likes to go hard, and that's the only way she knows. Sometimes it's not a bad thing to ease off a bit and save some energy, so maybe that's what she's going for.
Have to wait and see, but Victoria Carl now is doing the bulk of the work, so 21.6, it was 20 seconds back to the chasers, and you can see how that extended up to 30.29 and dropping down again. Now that Carl's come to the second position.
Yeah, and I think actually that probably a little bit points to what you said, Mike. If Eli may be getting a bit overexcited on that first kilometre off the start line there, just absolutely bombed out of the start, and then maybe now easing back a little bit, realising that she doesn't have to do that pace the whole way.
It feels that way, doesn't it? Because Eli has bagged. Yes, she's safe, but you still want to build a safety blanket of time in case you fall or trip or anything. Scenarios happen.
Yeah, and they are eating that time in. That was just down to 21 seconds though, so they're taking another couple of seconds out. I think it's too much. I don't think they can make up that whole deficit. But I think possibly did get a bit carried away at the start.
10 seconds over a kilometre, significant. Well, this is significant now at nearly 1:15 on the clock. Is there a separation now? Slightly. Julia Kern needs to close this down, try and get in again the slipstream of Victoria Carl. Yes, I think
she's just about there. She's holding on. I think, again, if you just looking, I don't know if it was the angle we looked at, but I felt like Kern could have taken it a little bit more aggressively as well to make sure she was on the tail, but she's just about there anyway now. So, again, do the work efficiently, stay with Carl. If you lose a little bit on the uphill, just make sure you're pushing it over the top so you can get back in the slipstream for the downs.
Just thinking, there's the Norwegian coach giving, the Swedish coach, sorry about that, the Swedish coach, well, this is strange. I think Victoria Carl in second place has got massive momentum. Let's just have a look at the time. It's still 21. That foreshortened it. I thought that Eli was beginning to tire a little.
Yeah, and just those splits at the bottom there, Mike, we see that Norway are down to 1:26 behind, so they're losing more time, just not in the races today.
So Lotte Udnesvang, I doubt she's been told to just back off. Look at this. This is such a pity for of course, the Americans and Julia Kern, especially on this anchor. There's nothing she can do about it. She's on her limit. And that's why the strategy was, let's get a big lead into the last leg, and that was mission accomplished. And of course Laukley not quite able to hold on when Anderson came past, and now Moa Ilar is really taking a firm approach to the last lap.
Yeah, that's a shame for Kern. I did think she might be able to stay with Carl when Carl came past her there. As I said, you know, she's a good sprinter, and if she could have been there at the end, she'd have had a bit of a fight. But Carl's looking really good, and you know, she's making a bit of, I don't know if she's making ground up on Ilar still, but she's certainly not losing time to her anymore.
No, and much improved coming into this season, Victoria Carl. Big significant change. She's been at the World Cup racing 7-8 years, maybe more, and a big leap forward, I think, in terms of her endurance.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Hennig's been the big star for Germany for a while, but Carl's always been, you know, not too far behind, and between them they've had good success in team sprints as well. So great to see if that can translate to some individual success. So plenty of support out there for the American team anyway. Good to see all the rest of the coaches and the team out on course.
Come on, and you know, it's so important. It can lift you in the world of pain that you're in. It can override. Just listen to the Americans there. There's not much anyone can do or say when you're hurting. They can make you significantly push harder. Well, Sweden at home, Posey, it's a strong team. Probably, well, we said it at the start, favourites to take the title. I thought there was a chance Norway could come into this. We knew the Americans would be aggressive and fighting and strong as always, but slowly floating to the top, the cream in this race, it is the Swedish ski suit.
Absolutely, and so one of the things that's great about the relays is even if you know it's going to go if you think Sweden are going to go a certain way, that moment of doubt with that lead that the Americans had and that brilliant leg from Brennan, it does make you start to think, well, maybe they can do it. But I think that class of the Swedish team has shown through in the last couple of legs.
It has, and well done to Julia Kern. It was a tough leg. Anyone taking the anchor leg, it's a huge responsibility. She's given her absolute best here. And third place at the moment, and likely to stay that, is another podium position at the moment for the Americans.
Yeah, it's still, as I say, they've got to look at it not as what could we have been first or second, but it's a podium and we're happy with that. That's always the aim for them, is to be on the podium, so they should be pleased. But I think that this leg from Carl is absolutely brilliant. She won't catch Ilar, she's not got the time left to do it, but she's made time up on her, so she's had a strong race. She bridged the gap to Kern. She overtook her, she didn't leave any prisoners, no space for Kern to stay with her. You know, what a good ski from her.
It's fabulous, and I think she's still closing down. 18 seconds now to this, the lead time. So Moa Ilar coming into the stadium for the final time. Swedish team didn't have it all their own way throughout the race. The Americans dominating the early parts of this race. And Victoria Carl, as you said, Posey, just really keeping on fighting and fighting. Looks like the same as the silver medal they achieved at the World Championships by some surprise. And on that day, of course, Sweden were behind them in February. That day in Slovenia in February, but now Germany again in second place.
Yeah, brilliant. But I'm really pleased to see the Germans on the podium again. It shouldn't be a surprise anymore, as you say. We've seen them in the silver medal position a couple of times, but I think it's amazing to see them come together, and athletes that aren't always having individual success, getting that team position is excellent.
It is indeed, and well, it is going to be Sweden at home to take the victory in the shape of Lundgren, Ribom, Anderson, and the great anchor leg from Ilar. She was never under any threat, and what a fabulous victory today, especially at home for the Swedish team. And not far at all, looking back down the track, a fabulous performance from the German quartet. Gimler, Hennig, Pia Fink and Victoria Carl taking second place. Down to 13 seconds at the end, and what a fight from the Americans. They know they can podium, they know they can challenge for this victory, and they did that for 3.5 laps. Having to settle with third place though, a wonderful performance from the American team. led out by Jessie Diggins, so strong, continued by Rosie Brennan, powerful lead. Sophie Lowry just dropping back to second, and then eventually Julia Kern dropping the Americans back to third. Well, it's only -10. I say only, compared to yesterday.
Positively tropical after yesterday.
Compared to yesterday at -17, but you still feel -10 when you're racing.
Absolutely, and here's Lotte Indesveng coming in. She just looks like she's on a warm-up run at the moment. I don't know if it's just the comparison of what we've seen, but not just lacking the spark that those top teams had today, and lost a good bit of time there. So she's going to come in almost a minute 30 behind Sweden. That's another 30 seconds they've lost from the handover from third to fourth.
Well, I think they'll be very disappointed, and back home on the national television, there'll be a lot of surprise today. Yes, a weakened team due to ill health, and Belgan coming in very late, replacing Sling this morning. But Norway 140 behind in fourth place. So Norway down in fourth place. It's been a long time, and I suppose there won't be any huge concern. They never like not being on the podium, especially in a relay, but they're having to live with that today, and they will be looking forward to Trondheim, which comes up on the 15th of this month, so the final World Cup before Christmas, and I'm sure they'll be back and fighting for the top spots again.
Yeah, I'm absolutely sure, and I think we haven't seen the best of the Norwegian women yet this season, I don't think. But no one could fight with Sweden today. Ultimately, Americans put up a good fight for the first couple of legs, but with Anderson and Eli on the third and fourth, they just were able to come back at the top where we expected them to be.
It's been a long time since Norway were not at the top of the list or off the podium in terms of World Cup racing.
Certainly off the podium, it's been quite a long. It's been a while. Well, having said that, I'm now looking back at the Beijing Olympic results. I think they were only in fifth, in fact, in Beijing. So
yes,
not so long ago, but
and Sochi the same. So it was an Olympic thing, generally at World Cups, and certainly for a very long time it's mostly been first position, and there aren't that many relays anymore. Just looking, actually, I don't think they've ever been off the podium since the World Cup relays were introduced way back in 2002. So a unique day for the Norwegian team today. Sweden's second team, great job coming in fifth position. And always good to get an experience, a World Cup bib on you. That's Louise Lindström taking the anchor leg.